the charges against Sergeant Bales and the Quran burning that resulted in those deadly riots. And joining me now, John Soltz, chairman of VoteVets.org. He's had 3 tours of duty, 1 in Kosovo, 2 in Iraq. He returned from Iraq only in December after helping train the Iraqi army before U.S. troops left that country. John, it's always great to have you on. Your insight is unmatched. Let me start off with what we just heard John Yang report, that the attorney for Sergeant Bales has people coming up to him asking if this case could impact the duration of the war. We know the White House says that it is not moving up the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan, but nonetheless, people are linking this one case to that possibility. What's your response to that?
It's definitely affecting the impact of the war. This, in addition to the burning of the Qurans, including when U.S. Marines were seen urinating on dead Taliban, these things have had a tremendous effect on the ground in Afghanistan in regards to our ability to support the population. With counterinsurgency, where our current strategy is to take U.S. troops, put them out into the villages, train up the Afghan army, and transition those villages over, providing the security blanket that gives us leverage to negotiate a peace with the Taliban. All of that stuff is basically over. The Taliban won't speak to us right now, and the fact is, President Karzai says no U.S. forces should be out or NATO forces out in the villages. So that basically renders the president's strategy over, whether or not they want to admit it or not.
But what about the fact here, you've got the captain who served with Bales who says what he did is not systemic. He was a lone actor. The media is painting this as too many deployments, but he broke several orders, first drinking, then shooting women and children. Others have obviously described him as likable. He's got a string of commendations, but he was also passed over for a promotion. So like most people, there is the good of your life and what some might feel are the hardships or the bad of your life. But nonetheless, you've got this captain saying that it's not about the tours or the amount of time these men and women are serving in this country.
Well, look, in regards to Sergeant Bales, he had been in the Army for 11 years. He got passed over for promotion to Sergeant First Class. Not everybody makes Sergeant First Class in 11 years, so that's really not that big of a passover per se. I think he's got an excellent attorney. His attorney understands all of these issues, but it's a lot of smoke. The fact of the matter is, you know, I served, and I just came home from Iraq for the 2nd tour. And the big question in Iraq and Afghanistan now is, how did you only go 1 time? So this guy went 3 times. Look, my brother served in Iraq twice, in Afghanistan once. The bottom line is that everyone's doing these types of tours. So he's going to be tried by a court-martial of his peers, and a lot of those people have had those same multiple tours. So the attorney can talk about PTSD, TBI. The facts remain that this soldier signed off on a memorandum that he had to pass all of this pre-deployment training, and he deployed. He clearly isn't on any type of anxiety medicines, or he wouldn't be able to carry a rifle as an 11 Bravo infantryman in Iraq. So the fact is, we've never had an American soldier or Marine leave an installation at night, murder women and children, and come back and turn themselves in. I just don't see them getting around that with a jury of their peers. Yes, the jury's going to have compassion for this soldier's story. There's no question about it. It doesn't mean they're going to put him to death. But I just don't see the jury of his peers, who've also had multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, really having sympathy for the fact that this guy did something that no one else has ever done. But
when you go back to the issue of the tours, just because so many, and we thank them for their service, including you and those in your family, just because it's happening does not mean it is the right environment. Fewer than 1% of this country serve in our nation's armed forces, armed services. But with that said, that situation exists because not enough people are fighting for this country.
Sure. I mean, the smallest percentage ever in the history of our country is serving in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's why you have people deploying 2, 3, 4 times. That's a product of the volunteer force. It's also a product of our society. I mean, look at the things we talk about in the daily press. You know, it's all Hollywood stuff or this or that, and no one really pays attention. Look, I went to a bank when I came home to get $1,000 to put in a rent on an apartment, and the girl behind the desk said, "Is this still your address?" I said, "No, I haven't lived there for a year." She said, "Well, where have you been?" I said, "I was in Iraq." She says, "Were you there on vacation?" I mean, the public doesn't the public really isn't engaged. I mean, the war is like the weather report. So, you know, if the public wants to sit here and take sympathy on his 2 or 3 or 4 tours, he's not going to be tried by the public who has that sympathy. He's going to be tried by the military. In the military, we have very strict rules about the Geneva Convention. We are a professional force. We do not harm, kill, or wound innocent women and children or civilians. It's against the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Let me get your reaction. John McCain was on Meet the Press. He talked about succeeding on the ground in Afghanistan. Obviously, many others process what we're seeing from that country as far from a success. Let me play what Senator McCain said.
The relationship between American troops in Afghanistan is wonderful, and when these things happen, then it just really sets back everything a great deal. But we have succeeded on the ground in Afghanistan. We have control of key parts of the country.
So, John, do you agree with Senator McCain?
Sure, on some aspects, we have done great work, but this isn't about what happens when we're there. It happens when we leave. And the fact is, with the timeline the president put out in his initial plan in 2014 and switching to an advised train and assist mission in 2013, we can't really achieve sustainable success in the timetable that we've been set. Not just the president's timetable, but 5 years, 10 years, who knows? So sure, American troops do a great job on the ground, but Senator McCain misses the large fundamental points here, that we need to focus on missions that our military can be successful with, like a counter-terror type mission. It wasn't all of these troops that went into Pakistan and got Osama bin Laden. That was not part of the counterinsurgency campaign. And so basically where we're at right now, I think the question Senator McCain should be asked is, why should American troops die fighting for a foreign democracy if the foreign democracy doesn't want them in those villages? When we could go back to an advised train and assist mission, we stay on the Afghan village, we stay out of the Afghan villages, but on the bases, and solely just train their army until we complete this withdrawal. Because right now what we're seeing on the ground in Afghanistan is the Afghans upset. They want this
Right.
U.S. soldier tried in Afghanistan.
Right.
That's an immunity issue. That's what caused us to eventually leave Iraq. We are never going to allow U.S. forces to be tried under a foreign government. So now we really risk any type of mission in Afghanistan, like the one that captured Osama bin Laden, because Senator McCain and a lot of his supporters have doubled down on a strategy that just can't work.
All right, John Soltz, thank you so much for your time,
Thank
John.
you.
I'll be talking with you soon.